Hello, crafty crafters. How are you? This is Karen with Creative Paper Artisan. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'm going to be making something out of these two freebies that I have in my group and on my Buy Me a Coffee page. I've gone ahead and cut them out. I've inked the edges, and I'm going to be making a journal out of these two jumbo tags, which are so fun. And I'm going to experiment a little bit. I want to make the spine out of the lace, and then I'm going to bind them with the sari silk. I haven't done that before. I wanted a sari silk that was kind of the color of that of the rose, but it's kind of an odd red. It's very pretty. So, but I don't want to take the time to try to find the sari silk, so I'm going to use the black. I think it'll look really elegant and pretty. So I've already gone ahead and folded up my coffee pages. There's 6 pages in here, which will give me 12 pages. I tore the edges with my deckled ruler, and I just cut it just wide enough so that it'll fit in nicely as a nice little signature there. I could have made it thicker, but I thought I'd keep it just a little bit on the smaller side and kind of simple. So I really like this lace, and I'm going to use it just because I think it'll work really nicely. But then I also realized that's the same lace that I used on this little contraption I made, just a little trifold. Also with freebies that are in my group and my Buy Me a Coffee page. And I may try to incorporate this into the journal. I'm not sure yet, but if I do, the lace will match nicely. It'll be quite pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this lace to size. I don't want it hanging out over where the tag starts, to cut away into the V. So I'm just going to cut to the very, very end there. Maybe give myself a little bit of wiggle room, and just kind of. And again, if it's a little bit scruffy, I don't care, because I like scruffy. I like scruff. So that should work just fine. Now the other thing I thought about, the scalloped edge right there it's going to get in the way. So I'm just going to cut it off. I'm going to cut it off carefully so that I can use it again, and maybe even on this project. I don't know yet. But if I cut it right to where there's kind of the border, then I think that'll make it very usable for something else. I think that's so pretty. But it's going to be hidden anyway, and it'll just add a little bit more bulk than I want. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so now I'm just going to get things lined up a little bit, and you want to make sure to leave enough space for the signature, the actual signature. I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch. Since I don't have a very thick signature, that should do just fine. Of course, if you want to have a much thicker signature, then just accommodate for that a little bit. So that is what I'm going to do there. And I'm just going to use my fabric glue and get the one side glued down, and then we want to make sure that the bottoms are lined up really well and nice and even. So I'll show you a little trick for that. Let me get this glued down real quick. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my ruler and use that kind of as a guide so that the bottoms of the tags are perfectly even. It's kind of have to be careful so things don't shift around again, but I think I've got it pretty good here. So get things kind of patted down, make sure the glue is sticking, and then we'll be ready to move on. All right, look how pretty that looks. It's already pretty. It's already pretty. And you know what? I think that the little border here on the right side needs to go as well. And I'll cut that very carefully so that I can possibly reuse that as well. But it's adding just a little bit more bulk than I think is necessary. And again, it's going to be hidden, so I'm just going to cut that right off. All right. That's nice and flat. Okay, now you know what? There's a little bit more white showing than I would like, and I should have done this ahead of time. So this is one of my, do as I say, not as I do moments. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the same black ink and try to ink along the edges here or that might show with the spine, and just get a little more camouflaged. And if I get a little bit of ink on the lace, I'm actually not too worried about it, because it'll add to the kind of the grungy, shaggy look. But I want to try to keep most of it on the paper. All right, that should do. Now, time to cover up the inside and make a beautiful liner. And I have been jonesing to use up some of my beautiful embossed papers that I have here. They're coffee stain papers with, well, the reddish one is coffee and beet or something. And I think I'm just going to make a collage, kind of make a raggedy collage. Just tear them up and, I don't know, just kind of make something a little bit different. I haven't tried this before, so I'm, again, hoping it's going to look as good in real life as I think it's going to look in my head. So I'm going to play around with this, and let's see what happens. Okay, well, that was fun. All right, so now it is time to sew in the signature. And like I said, I'm going to try something I haven't tried before. I'm going to use the sari silk instead of thread. So let me measure out. I always like to do about 3 times the height of the signature, just to give myself, that always seems to be just enough for me. But it looks like I'm going to have to cut off, because the sari silk has kind of, it's sewn together and still there's a seam there, so that's not going to work. I need a piece that's seamless for this. So there we go. So 3 times the height usually works really well for me. So just trim that off. And even though the sari silk is very scrunched up and thin, I'm going to rip it in half, because I want it to be, thinner than this. I'm afraid if I did it in thirds, it might be too thin or not strong enough. So I'm just going to rip it in half and see if that works. I'll probably use the thinner of the 2 halves, but I think that should do. That will do just fine. Now, let me get some of the scruff off. That's maybe a little bit too much, although I think I may be able to use that for something else in this journal. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. Okay, so now it's time to poke our little holes in the signature here. I'm just going to do the simple pamphlet stitch technique, but I want to, you know, be a little bit more exacting, make sure everything is nice and even. So I'm just going to make my mark in the middle here, 3.5 since it is 7. And then I think I'll go about an inch in from each end. That should do the trick. And then make those a little bit darker, and then I'll grab my pokey tool. And since this is nice and kind of smaller and more manageable, I'm just going to kind of hold it like this and just get that hole in there. Now, because the sari silk is thicker than the average yarn, I'm going to grab my wider awl. This one's pretty thick there. I'm just going to go ahead and widen that hole so that that sari silk can move through there a little bit easier. I don't want it to be too, I don't know if you can see it, it's not too huge, but that should be enough to get the sari silk through there. So let me try see if I can just do it with the awl this time. It's not very, no, it's not very sharp. I'm gonna have to, no, that's not working. I'm gonna just start the hole with my pokey tool and then just go in afterwards and make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so now the trick will be finding a needle that I have that has a big enough eye. I think I have one. Let me grab my stash here of needles from my awesome needle holder that my friend Elaine made me. Let's see here. Yeah, I think this one will do. It's got a pretty big opening there, so I should be able to thread that through without too much trouble. Yeah, there we go. That's beautiful. Okay, awesome. All right. So now, just get everything out of the way here. Okay. So, because I want the ends poking out from the outside, I don't want them on the inside of the signature, I want them on the outside showing. I'm going to start from the outside in the middle. And it's going to be a little bit, might be a little bit slippery. Let me clamp this down a little bit because I don't want things shifting. So finding the hole from the outside is going to be a little bit tricky because of the lace, but I think, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So let me just look and see where the hole is and kind of eyeball it, see if I can match it up. A little bit tricky. Let me do without poking myself in the finger, but make my nail the guide there. I think that works. I think that works. Yep. I think that'll do. All right, I want to make sure it comes up. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I think it'll be okay. I do. I think this is going to look pretty snazzy. All right, so I came up through the middle, and I'm going to go down one side. And again, try to make sure that I'm coming through to the middle of that lace, not off to the side where it's wanting to go. But it's obviously very pliable and moldable, so I can just kind of shift things a little bit there. Get that up through here. It is a little tight, but I think it'll be okie dokie. Okay. Get it good and tight. Okay, so then now I'm going to go to the bottom, skip over the middle, and then again I'm going to have to finagle my way through from the outside to that end, that bottom hole there. So let me see the best way to do that. Sorry, I'm off camera here. There we go. Okay. Get it as close as I can. And then, well, hang on. It's a little bit tricky this way, but you just have to be patient, which is not always my specialty. But it's usually worth it. So I just want to make sure that it's good. I think I got it. Here. Okay. Lovely. That works. Get it nice and snug from all angles before I move on, because it'll be easier if I kind of keep it snug along the way, you know. All right. So then I'm going to finish off by going back up to the middle hole. Now this is the part that's going to be a little tricky. I don't want to be poking through the sari silk again. I don't want to like sew into it. It needs to go just strictly into the hole. And that's going to be a little bit tricky. And I want it to be on the other side of the sari silk that's running down the middle, so that I have one end on each side of that spine there. It looks like I'm a little bit stuck here. Maybe a little bit too thick to go through that hole. But let me see. It looks like I actually may have done exactly what I was trying not to do and kind of sewed up into a portion of the ribbon. So let me see what I can do about this. Okay, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut. There's just like a tiny little sliver that's hung up, so I'm just going to cut right there. And since the edges are scruffy anyway, it won't even be noticeable. That's part of the beauty of scruffy grunginess, is there's lots of room for creativity in fixing issues. So I think that will work just fine. All right, the inside looks good. All right, so I'm just going to make a knot. Make sure everything is, before I cinch it down for sure, make sure it's centered enough. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to just make a knot there and then tie a bow. And, you know, that's pretty much it. You could do more to it. You could add some beads maybe to the bottom of it, or oh, I mean, seriously, I'm getting too many ideas already just thinking about it, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Keep it simple and elegant. Let's take these guys off. And let me see. Oh, there's a little bit of too much scruff there. Okay. I'm very discerning with my scruff. So I like it. It looks pretty good there. Yeah, I like it. What do you guys think? I think it's a pretty nice option. And you know, I'm not sure how and if I will incorporate this. I thought about putting a pocket, but this little trifold is actually kind of thick. So I don't know. I may just leave it out for now. All right, so now for the crowning touch. And you could just leave it as is. I think it'd be lovely. But I want to put a little hole in and make it look like an actual tag, you know, with a little little ribbon hanging off the top. And I'm just going to do it on the back one because I want it to be able to open. So obviously I don't want to tie it shut. I think it might look better on the back one. I guess you could do it on the front cover too. But I'm just going to do it on the back. So I'm going to get my center here, which it's 3 1/2. So 1 3/4. Oops. 1 3/4 is where the middle is. And I'm going to use probably the larger hole on my crocodile here. I want to go in far enough, and I want to use a grommet or eyelet, whatever you want to call that. So I'm going to go in far enough so that I've got room to put that grommet. So let me grab that real quick. Okay, I didn't have a black one. I was kind of hoping I had black, but I didn't. But this is a nice antiqued color, so it'll be just fine. Oh, they're slippery little suckers, aren't they? Usually works better for me when I do it this way. All right. And then crimp it down real good. And then we've got a beautiful little finished looking eyelet. And let me grab more of this black sari silk. And let's see here. I'm going to use the section that I cut off because of the seam. And let me see, I feel like I want to maybe double it and make it really kind of extra fluffy, but I'm not sure it's going to go through here. It's a little bit too much for that. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, that's all right. I'll just do it like normal. There's so many different ways to do ties like this. It's, completely up to you what you want to do. But I think what I may do now, it's a little bit too long. Of course, I could trim it, but I kind of maybe want to do something a little bit more. Let me try tying a bow and see how that looks. I don't think I've ever done that before. Telling you, this whole thing is an experiment. Okay, I like that. A little bow sitting on top. That's kind of cute. All right. Yep. I think that'll be fine. Top it off a little bit differently. Okay. So I've got one more thing I want to do because I really want to use this scruff from the silk, the sari silk ribbon. So I'm going to make a little bit of a nest, just a scruffy little messy nest. And I'm going to use I want to put a wax seal over it. And I may already have one ready. So let me check my stash real quick. Okay, I do. This is just about the right red. That's pretty nice. And it's, you can't really tell, but it's roses, like a circle of roses. So I think that will work just lovely there. Now, getting this arranged in the right in the right way is maybe going to be a trick there. So something like that. I'm really liking the texture that adds to the top of that cover. So let me just get a little bit of my fabric glue on here, just enough to hold it down. Just a little bit, and kind of so I can maybe form it a little bit. It keeps wanting to stick to my fingers, so it's a little tricky, but that's okay. It's very fluffy thread, very fluffy. Oh, that's not working as well as I thought either. Okay. All right. Oh, goodness. Okay. So I'm going to use my E6000 glue to get that wax seal on there because I want that to be I wonder if maybe I can grunge it up a little bit more with the black ink. Let me try this real quick. It's either going to be fantastic or it's going to be horrible. So, 50-50 chance here. But I think if I do a little bit on the edge, and then maybe a little bit on the raised parts, very gently. It's probably not showing up very well on camera, but I'm just going to go for it. I think I'll add a little bit of interest there. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Okay. That'll do. That will do. Okay. Now I'm going to, let me see, like that. Something like that. So get that nice big glob there. Because it's going to have to seep down through the thread, which is very thin, so it should not be a problem. And just kind of put that in place. I'm liking that a lot. I really like it. Okay. I need to make sure that dries pretty good before I do much more with this, but I think it's finished. She's done. I think just really simple and elegant. I love those roses. Those are some of my favorite roses that I've found so far, and just love them. So I want to thank you again for tuning in and joining me on my adventure. Oops, sliding around there. Okay. Easy, Karen. So yeah, I think this is great. These are, like I said, freebies that you can get. I will put a link below so that you can get them either by joining my Facebook group or going to the Buy Me a Coffee site that I have. And I thank you so much. And please subscribe if you have not. I would love to have you join me on future journeys and adventures and experiments. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.